You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. For some time now, the Southeast has been under a serious security onslaught by, it is alleged, members of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, and some also say ESN members.
And the members have been attacking various government facilities ranging from custodial centers, INEC offices, police stations, and recently the DSS and FRS offices.
And because of pursuing their agitations, the members have said to have killed and maimed many innocent citizens and forced market men and women to sit at home, while also directing financial institutions, that's to say banks, and other public institutions to lower the country's national flag.
So what necessitated this development? Was it the implication of this to the socio-economic and political development of the Southeast in particular, and the nation at large?
And the point has also been reported that some are saying that there should be no elections in the Southeast, because just next month, about a month and a day away, the Anambra governorship elections are scheduled to take place. Joining us now in the studio to discuss this issue of how to restore peace in the Southeast, we would like to welcome Ambassador Obizoba Chiemelo, who is Director General Strategic Planning and Implementation of Ohaneze Ndigbo General Assembly Worldwide. Ambassador, pleasure to have you back on Good Morning Nigeria after the Independence Day discussions.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios, we'll also like to welcome another guest, and that's Great Imo Jonathan. He's a PR and media consultant. Imo Jonathan, pleasure to have you this morning.
My pleasure.
We also have joining us Chris Agiri, Flag Foundation of Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Morning.
All right, gentlemen, once again, our pleasure to have you with us. This is not a particularly pleasant topic to discuss because of the frequent reports of violence and murder and maiming and disruption of the economically productive southeastern part of the country. Nnewi, for instance, which is the industrial hub in Anambra State, has faced relentless onslaught in recent times. Dora Akunyele's widower, Dr. Akunyele, continues to lie in the mortuary with having been assassinated, as it were. And there are several other reports of what is happening in the Southeast. Gentlemen, just what is happening? I mean, is it just sheer lawlessness or a breakdown of law and order? Yeah. Let's begin with Chris Agiri.
Yeah, thank you very much. About the situation, the current situation in the Southeast, and that is one too many. Nigeria as a nation, I speak though as a Nigerian from the Southeast, but as the carrier of the Nigerian national flag, promoting everything good about Nigeria. These are not good developments, information that the world will be fed about our country. We have the Boko Haram in the northeast, then the northwest, then this one. That's ought not to be. Whatever may be the cause, we have a duty and a responsibility, a divine one, a moral one, a constitutional one, to ensure that order and tranquility is restored in the Southeast. It will do no one no good as a people, Southeasterners, as Nigeria as a whole. No. And so, of course, behind every action, there is some underlying things that promotes or agitates this. Some actions are deliberate. Some carry out some things to, deliver a message to let you know that we're serious. Sometimes an armed robber comes to your place, according to stories, people's experiences. If you're not acting equally, he just opens the gun for you to know that it's serious. That's part of it. One, the Southeasterners, first and foremost, before we call on the federal government, we have a challenge to ensure that we don't destroy ourselves. ensure that we don't destroy ourselves. Whatever may be your political interest, whatever may be your material interest, whatsoever is your interest, as an Igbo man, you owe yourself a responsibility, to accommodate yourselves. The space is good and large enough for those of them whose interest is to assert political position, ascend to political positions, and then appropriate and public wealth. That is just there. But behind all this, before we talk about the fifth communist that is becoming the description, is that there must be an inward-looking approach by the Igbos. I just discovered that, look at Johannes, my dear brother here, introduced him as Director of Strategy and something about Johannes. In all honesty, by my age and exposure to issues about Igbo land, it's here on the platform of Johannes. I didn't know about this kind of Johannes. I know about another Johannes and another one, 3. The one I know is that led by Professor George Obiozo as the President General and Ambassador Keamuche. I'm using that as an example that, look, the Igbos are now finding it difficult to cohere among themselves for tussles and struggles in whose interests I do not know. And now look at the kind of things that's happening in Nnewi of all people. Nnewi is a town that functions without government. I don't think there's any federal government institution or even state government institution in Nnewi. These are entrepreneurs that are making us proud as Igbo and as Nigerians. Now, look at the volume of businesses. People from all over the world trooping into Nnewi, those wanting to set up factories, wanting to ally with them, and all that. I mean, they are hitting the heart of Igbo land. And so whatever it is, beginning from the political leadership of Igbo land, some of them are getting biased, some are already subsumed by and beclouded by their political interests, present and future. Then, of course, political leadership enthroned by law calls the shot. It's supposed to show lead. Then followed by organizations, we can talk about the Ohaneze as a known socio-political, socio-cultural organization by the Igbos, the church leaders, the religious leaders that are influential and are powerful, the traditional rulers. How could Ali Igbo? Now, yes, we have one saying that Igbo Nweze, but not to that extent. The people in the southeast, if we go, for example, in Nnewi now, the normal local people, the residents who live and thrive in that, they don't even know what is happening. Is there another war that is coming? Is it because of the election? The threat of no election, we saw it in 2017. I was your studio analyst in Oka, 2017. Yes, there was an order that there won't be any election. But back to the narrative, it's credited to IPOB. Is it truly IPOB? Is it, political interests different? Is it fifth communist as being insinuated in some quarters, different schools of thought about whatever? But then, the Nigeria as an institution, with all the intelligence know-how, must carry out a discrete investigation to be able to unravel who are behind this, what is their interest, and above all, if it implies application of force, because somebody who is gone with gun that you cannot listen to you, if it entails application of force equivalent to what is being said to ensure that order is restored.
All right, Chris,
Exactly.
thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yes, let me now join Ambassador Chiemelu. You are the Director General Strategic Planning and Implementation Ohaneze in Dibo. The Igbos are known to be enterprising, entrepreneurs. They live everywhere in the world. They are considered peaceful people. How did this situation spiral out of control? And are the elders of the Igbos not sitting down to talk to their children on how to curtail this situation as it is now?
Thank you very much, The challenges we are facing in the Southeast today is not new to certain region of the country. But what matters is the way and manner our political leaders, our elites have handled the matter is the question to be discussed about. During the receive in South, the Niger Delta, you see the governors, you see the political leaders, even talking to the people, galvanizing them, at least meeting them one-on-one, pleading to them, trying to bring them into, to at least talk sense into them. Kicking against it, I could remember some of the former governor of Rivers State then, even taking the word to the den zone and begin to talk to them and begin to make sure that normalcy come to their region. What had happened in the Southeast recent days, is very pathetic. Most of us are not very comfortable because our people are not really showing concern. When you see a political leader who come on the national TV or press conference and say they don't know who is behind this, we must have to identify our problems. If we don't identify our problem, then there's no way we can solve our problems. It's not about convening a meeting of leaders, gathering in a place and wake up after closed door meeting, issue statement. Have you been able to take action towards the statement you have even issued a previous time? Abuja was set up unceremoniously prior to this serious hit in the Southeast, when they perceived that these people are becoming unbearable to them. They rose from a meeting and proclaimed Abuja to secure the Igbo land. And today, I think nobody can barely heard about that Abuja by the governors, the Southeast governors who have set up. These are the leaders of the region. You cannot be in your house and somebody invade your house and you say you don't know what is happening. No. If you're in your private home and you were being attacked, you were able to identify how manage the attack comes and how do you deal with the subsequent one, in case if there is. Just like my brother said, the Southeast, especially Anambra State, Nnewi, Onitsha Market, is the economic hub of West Africa, not just in the country. It's the economic hub of the West Africa. Every African market comes to Anambra for business and other economic activities. But today, our leaders are watching unpatriotic element issuing order when you have a legitimate institution, constituted government, and nobody is making any move. When we talk, they say, Ambassador, why would you have to talk? You have to be diplomatic. I say, no. Can we be able to identify our problems so that we can be able to find how to fix the problem? Today, they are meeting again. And when I had a call yesterday, I said, look, you've been meeting. It's only one of them that try as much he can do to an extent to be able to put some effort to match his word, which is the Imo State governor who have tried possible to see how he can. Others are just quiet. Based on what my colleague and my brother said, maybe because of their present political benefit or future political distance. So,
or they are afraid?
I don't, if you can be, look, you have a sitting governor, consulted by the elected institution, supposed to be taking action. You have a local vigilante, which in Anambra State, I remember that Anambra State every community have a local vigilante group and recognized by the Anambra State government. These people are not coming from the sky. They're coming from somewhere. Where people go to enforce lockdown, you see them face to face. Going to disperse people who come to at least do their daily. There are people who can't feed unless they come out one day. There are people who their basic income determined on how many. Once they come out that day, they were able to feed their home. And group of people chartered a lot of economic activities of the region, and nobody is seriously talking about it. It's a cause for concern for all of us, because we don't have any other home to go. At the end of the day, we will leave Abuja to our various community. If you go to other part of the country where Igbos are doing their business, you see they have peaceful coexistence within themselves. So we cannot come to our own region and charter our economic well-being and begin to celebrate. And some of them will say it's unknown government. I disagree with anybody that says it's unknown government. These people are known. If they have come to say, don't raise your flag within October 1st, when you have an Independence Day, and you still tell me they are unknown government, they issue threat and they match it with action. The institution of government will issue their own threat, they will match it with action. They will talk after getting the issue a press statement. They will go in and go and sleep. So it calls for concern.
The state of anarchy.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Ambassador Chiemelo, thank you. You know, the great Emo Jonathan, Chris Aguirre said that some persons in the Southeast are wondering whether this is another civil war. Because it's like what is happening is within the boundaries of the entire Southeast. At first, there were attacks on government institutions, police stations, prisons, government house, law enforcement officers taken. But we are now seeing prominent citizens being killed on the streets of the Southeast. And then we are seeing properties of Southeasterners being burnt in the Southeast. Dr. Chuo Kongo left office as Minister of Finance many years ago. Joe Ibokwe, Ibokwe, who is in Lagos, his property, we saw it on television, on footage, also being raised. So, is this another civil war being perpetrated this time, whether by unknown gunmen or whoever?
Well, this cannot be said to be a kind of a full-blown civil war. It's more or less a sectarian violence. And if we do apply the social framework for solving social problems, we need to do first and foremost what you call problem appreciation. And like we're all here in the studio lamenting, but the real problem is that we're talking about the symptoms of the real problem, which is long years of neglect of these young elements who have become a thorn in the flesh. And that must be placed squarely where it belongs, which is the failure of leadership. Society rise and fall on the altar of leadership. And when I mean leadership, let's even start with the family leadership. A lot of these young people getting involved in violence, we are children who were uncared for. I'm from the Southeast, and I know that each time I return to my community, you see hundreds of young people with no future, nobody's modeling, nobody's focusing them. Every of these children roaming around in the communities, getting high on drugs. During elections, politicians will mobilize them, give them guns to go and fight for ballot boxes, to kill people, to maim people. After election, you abandon them. And this, for example, in my state, within the last 6 years, when we did the analysis of federal allocation, both for state and local government, in 6 years, Abia State has received 803 billion. And it does not reflect in that environment. Hence, when I'm talking about leadership, I'm not talking about federal, because the two things that happen here is that it is the failure of the immediate leadership in the Southeast. And when this failure occurs, they begin to play propaganda with it, begin to redirect the attention of young people, making them feel that it was someone out there who's supposed to have taken care of their needs that have not done it. Yet these young people see these people driving in big cars. They know some of these people had nothing. They become big now. They had no factories. They don't have no mechanics farm. But on the commonwealth of the people, they are feeding fat, taking care of themselves, sharing money. Nothing is reflecting on the environment. There are no infrastructure to encourage young people to live within their communities and be happy. There are no industries. Children are no longer guided. Parents are also failing because the Igbos that we know, we have values. Right now, we have a lot of young people, when you see them on social media talk, you ask yourself, is this child giving birth to by an Igbo man? You see some of our young ladies, Igbo young ladies going on social media, getting naked. It is not part of us. It is the poor parenting or failure of parenting. Then, even lack of those, because leaders model society. What have they been modeling in the Southeast in the last 20 years, in the last 30 years? People from nowhere. People, the worst of us have begun to hijack power. In fact, when you are talking about this thing, what are the ingredients feeding these forces? Cultism, drug. You understand? These young people who were abandoned after the election were mobilized. Their anger were aggregated. And some messages were passed. When they found out something that is real, that they can relate with about the failure of government, whether it is federal or state, and they're able to link it, then they begin to use other instruments, big lies and all of those things, to mold them into an army. And while these things were happening also, the failure to nip them in the bud, to create counter narratives, were the things that led us to this point where, in fact, let me say the truth, the people are alienated from the so-called leaders in the Southeast. Some of these orders are given, some of them they are even obeyed voluntarily because people are angry. And let me even put this forward. I've had the occasion to speak with some of my friends who are in some of the security agencies. I said, when some of these people want to get angry with these politicians, when you bring security agencies, they see them as you harboring and protecting their enemies because they know these people. In fact, for example, whilst we are talking, you go to Southeast, you are arresting Yahoo boys. While the commissioner for wars, commissioner for finance is there. People can't see you using the federal might, you understand, to discipline these people who have created the problem and pour it upon the head of the federal government. So in the end, it is now a multi-linked problem. Those who are kidnapping, doing armed robbery are mobilizing to this crisis.
I want to great Imo, Jonathan. That's a point that you've just raised now. In terms, I don't know whether one can loosely refer to it as displaced aggression, because some of the reports, particularly in recent weeks, indicated that if you were seen with a pilot vehicle, like the usual Hilux, with revolving lights, and you were a security officer, you were likely to be attacked. And in some cases, there have been fatalities arising from this. And then, so if you are then seen as a big man who is being guided on a tour or being escorted, that will also be attacked. Is this part of what we are saying? That look, they are saying, look, these guys are the cause of our problems by these elements who are perpetrating this.
That's to say that's part of the truth we must be dealing with here, because sometimes you also see in these videos you see on social media, the crowd sometimes hail them.
Precisely.
You see them amongst the people, but are beginning to target a certain class of people, and that is the only way we began to talk. When this issue started long before now, these things have been here from Massop before you even had HIPOP. And these things were not even addressed. In fact, I have it on good authority. There was a former Southeast leader, youth leader, Uko or somebody, who had even attempted in the beginning to bring these young people to be listened to by the Southeast leaders. They invited them to Enugu, and they eventually abandoned them outside. I never spoke with them. You keep ignoring your children, having this colonialist mentality of leadership, where you treat your people as if they are your slaves, as if they are your subjects. And because you don't feel that these people have emotions, you don't want to listen to their problem, you have allowed this thing to fester. Now, I'm even afraid that even the so-called IPOP, this thing has spiraled out of their hand, out of their control. The forces that are operating in the Southeast now cannot particularly be mentioned. There is a multidimensional issue. There's political issues to it. There are criminalities to it. There is the agitation issue to it, and many others. Even amongst the political elites in Igbo land, when they fight viciously. They fight viciously for power. And to the extent that is when they rig these elections, some of these people governing the Southeast were not elected by the people. That is why you cannot mobilize your people. Because whether it is insecurity, it is the proletariat, it is the mobilization of the people that will lead to the solution. Why would you have millions of people and some group of people come with 2 vehicles, run into Newi, cause all the havoc and go away? It's because the people really are not with you to fight them. The first thing a leader does is, apart from having a vision, You must have what they call proliterate mobilization. You must recruit. You must mobilize your people towards a cause. You must explain to them the cause of action, the vision. You must be the pathfinder to say this is where we are going to. If you cannot do that, then you are governing yourself. You are not governing the people. Show them the way and mobilize them towards a cause. Even show them, be open to what you have, resources, material and men. We have 10 naira. We can achieve this, we can achieve that. Let the people know that 803 billion came in. This is what we are supposed to do with it. This is why it will cost this way. And everybody knows that when you cannot afford it, everybody knows that. Plain truth is that we cannot afford it. The people must work with you. How can you, in a country of 200 and something million, how many police officers do you have? Nowhere in the world can the society be appropriately policed by those wearing uniform. The people must be involved. And the only way they can be involved is that you must be the people's person in order to mobilize them. And these are the important issues that must be looked into. We must solve this problem using kinetic and non-kinetic solution. Even in solving what they call terrorism problem. Experts will tell you that once military involvement is above 18%, it's absolutely a failure. Because it is the mobilization of the people, an interface with the security, those who do what they call underground checking, that leads to what? Nipping these things in the bud. You have to do what they call mines reduce, plotting, planning, getting the people involved. When they see strange movement, the kind of people they see, documenting all this evidence, analysis, and all of this. And in solving it, you do proper problem appreciation. Then you do what they call stakeholder engagement. After stakeholder engagement, you begin to tailor the solution to it. When you are solving this problem, there are immediate solutions, which might be somewhat kinetic. You want to use the applied state force to stop it, but going back to the background, the problem should not be solved just on top, and that is what I think we should be looking for.
Mr. Great, you raised a lot of silent, and pertinent questions here, attributing to the fact that the value system of the Southeast itself has crashed. Because growing up, we see individuals bringing up young entrepreneurs. They grow up, have their own. Yes, mentorship. What happened to it in the Southeast?
Yeah, when we talk about failure of mentorship, it's not only peculiar in Igbo.
Yes.
But please.
But it was prominent, more prominent in the Southeast.
Yes. Now, let me tell you, the background of what some of this is are some of the consequences of losing a war. The war is devastation, including your cultures, including your traditions, including your way of life.
But the war was not lost.
I'm coming, I know. When we were first, I wouldn't put it that way, but when you talk about, when you have been dislocated completely, and now it becomes survivor. By 1970, the prerogative of every Igbo man was survivor. You had to first live. But then that is also not a road, in terms of that. But then, of course, that generation of Igbos they faced existential challenges, so they needed to impact to the younger ones. And, which moved on and on and on until you lost the grip. Via the political system on kind of people that emerges, who don't really understand the essence of leadership that brought us to where we are. Look, let us not isolate the global issues. You see, the phone that informations are transmitted, these are some of the challenges of globalization. I studied globalization as a course. The issue is this, that it was believed, and it's happening, that for those cultures and traditions that are not strongly rooted and jealously guided, globalization, was going to come like a storm, wiping them away. Part of the first is that of globalization. But to what is happening in the Southeast now, every Igbo man, every Nigerian, leadership from the local governments, from the ward level to the federal level, must put ourselves together to restore law and order. And because it's a challenge that if it's allowed to move beyond, it has extended to the issue of not raising national flag. For God's sake, it's becoming more complex. Precisely. I couldn't understand myself as a promoter of the national flag, and within me, it was a torturous situation. I couldn't, and it's a reality. Then it has moved. That is another stage. When you have a sovereign state like Nigeria, and you now have an order by a non-state actor that the flag should not be raised. It's almost getting to the climax of whatever we're talking about.
There is a threat of a month-long sit at home.
Okay, so now look at those things. The issue is this. Nigerian government, from the federal government to the state government, to all Igbos at home and diaspora, in whichever position, in whichever location you are, we must say, no, enough is enough. This is not who we are. This is not the way to go. And we must restore law and order. We must, things have to be, when we talk about now reorientation, yes, of course, there's a lot of reorientation. But currently, as it was last year, at least by this time last year, there were no such things happening in Igbo land. So how come all of a sudden, if it doesn't happen, what is going to happen in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, before you know it, that's how Boko Haram started.
Precisely.
Is that what we're waiting
modus
for?
operandi is exactly
Of course, yes,
the
that
same.
is the issue. The terrorism is a reality, ravaging all over the world. When we're accusing IPOB or unknown gunmen or gunmen or politicians or struggle for torso among ourselves and all the political groups, but the issue is this: among all these groups, majority of them, a larger percentage of them, don't have the interest of public good and public goodness as a motive behind what they're doing. It's all gathered towards personal, material, mostly material interest, to take grip of political power, exercise power and authority, distribute the the largest of the office, forgetting that leadership is a challenge. I challenge the leadership of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I challenge the leadership of all the state governors in the Southeast, down to the local government, to socio-political organizations like we now have 3 Ohaneze. I'm just hearing of this. No, this should not continue. This shouldn't be.
Okay, you know what, Chris, Agiri, and gentlemen, this is a topic that will, of course, we're going to have a part 2 of it. There are a number of perspectives to look at, but ultimately it's what will work and what should work in the circumstance. The Southeast cannot be burning the way it is burning. The Southeast cannot be littered with dead bodies of prominent and not so prominent citizens of the Southeast. You were talking a while ago about one of the fallout of the Civil War. I mentioned this on Good Morning Nigeria when we were doing our newspaper review, that part of what we saw at the end of the Civil War was for Southeasterners who were prosperous elsewhere in the country other than the Southeast to say, look, I will go back home to go and build.
Yes.
And so when you go to the Southeast, in the villages, in the towns, you see mansions built by successful Southeasterners, and some of these properties are now being targeted by arsonists.
No.
Gentlemen, we appreciate your being here. As I said, we're going to continue with this conversation. Our producer has indicated that will be tomorrow. But great. Imo Jonathan, PR and Media Consultant, thank you for being our guest this morning.
My pleasure.
Ambassador Chief Obizoba Chiemelu, DG Strategic Planning and Implementation of Ohaneze Ndigbo General Assembly Worldwide, we thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thank you very much.
Chris Agiri, Director General of Flag Foundation of Nigeria, thanks a lot for being our guest.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's take a look at the world of sports.
The Super Eagles camp opened on Monday for the 2022 World Cup qualifying games against the Central African Republic. The Eagles played Central African Republic at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, Lagos, on Thursday before traveling to Cameroon for the second leg 3 days later. A total of 16 players arrived on the first day of camping. KSK Moscow winger Chidera Ejuke was the first in camp. The players took part in a gym section at 4:30 p.m. and are scheduled for training at 5 p.m. later today. More players are expected to join the camp this morning before Thursday's game. Meanwhile, informed Union Berlin striker Taiwo Awoniyi and Glasgow Rangers defender Kevin Bassey are expected to make their international debuts in the qualifiers. In tennis, Japan's Naomi Osaka has dropped out of the women's top 10 for the first time since winning 2018 US Open title. Osaka, 23, who is now 12th, withdrew from this year's French Open and made women to focus on our mental health.
What happened? All right, the conversation.
We're
of course,
seeing
we're
our
still,
discussion
yes,
here.
we're
We're
just
continues
having that.
behind the scene.
We're caught off guard by our director. Well, that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow is another day, 7 o'clock in the morning. Look after yourselves. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Jumwe Yusuf. Do have a great day.